Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the GrinderHouse. My name's S01E19. I'm one of the owners here. Every Friday night we turn into a listening room. We've been doing this for 2.5 years. 137 shows now. We have another full house. We're very thankful for that. And we have an incredible show for you tonight. You know, Louisiana. And I'm thinking Mardi Gras is coming up. Mr. Kerr does every year. Now, how many years now has it been?
It'll be our 29th year at the Bluebird Cafe on
29th.
Yeah.
Fat Tuesday, every Fat Tuesday for the last 29 years, he does a Mardi Gras show there. We're very fortunate to have him tonight. Everybody, a warm welcome to Les Kerr. Les, take it away.
Thank you. Stretch my broken guitar strings from Pascagoula to Ocean Springs. Played all kinds of music on the Gulf of Mexico. Well, I played a little country, played a little rock. I played uptown and around the block. Whatever it takes to give the folks a show. We're gonna take a little bluegrass, mix it with the blues, and you stir it like a good gumbo. Add a little reggae, hit it with a beat. It's the hillbilly blues, Caribbean rock and roll. Those sunburned southern rhythms blow from the Swanee River to the Black Bayou. People like their cooking and their music Tabasco hot. Take a little bit of cayenne, cook it in the rice, take the rhythm and the blues and Jamaican slang. Mix them all together and what a brew you got. We're gonna take a little bluegrass, mix it with the blues and you stir it like a good gumbo. Add a little reggae, hit it with a beat. It's the hillbilly blues, Caribbean rock and roll. I like to hear the steel drums and a mandolin grooving in the very same song. Add a Cajun fiddle, a slide guitar, and like a shrimp boat, we'll just rock along. We're gonna take a little bluegrass, mix it with the blues, and you stir it like a good gumbo. Add a little reggae, hit it with a beat. It's the hillbilly blues, Caribbean rock and roll. We're gonna take a little bluegrass, mix it with the blues, and you stir it like a good gumbo. Add a little reggae, hit it with a beat. It's the hillbilly blues, Caribbean rock and roll. Like a good gumbo, like a shrimp creole, like a rock and roll. Thank you all so much. It is so good to be in Crossville. Thank you very much for hosting me, and I love this part of the country. I've been here before. About 15 years ago, I co-wrote a book called The All-American Truck Stop Cookbook, and we did a presentation at the Palace Theater here. This was probably about 2005. So I tell people, if you want a physique like mine, that's the book to get. But we got recipes from over 200 truck stops around the country. It's a lot of fun. But Ace is right. I do Mardi Gras every year at the Bluebird Cafe, and I grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, not far from New Orleans, and Mardi Gras is part of this country's culture all the way from the south of Florida throughout the Gulf of Mexico up through Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, and it has migrated inward as well, so I'm happy about that. The song I'm about to sing is about Mardi Gras. Who knows what Mardi Gras really means? It means take the Christmas decorations down. That's actually the... But anyway, this song was written about Mardi Gras. The home of Mardi Gras is Mobile, Alabama, years before it ever got to New Orleans. So a good friend of mine named Stephen Lee Veal, and I wrote this song that sort of acknowledges Mobile and the other cities that celebrate New Orleans. It was Mardi Gras. This is called Mardi Gras Song. Mardi Gras, Mobile, Alabama. Mardi Gras, New Orleans, Louisiana. Mardi Gras, we'll all have a ball downtown at the Mardi Gras. I'll catch the candy, you catch the bees. Stand next to Sally, we'll get all we need. We'll go dancing down Royal Street, and we'll salute the king and queen down at the Mardi Gras, Mobile, Alabama. Mardi Gras, New Orleans, marching in the high school band, doing the second line before the big grandstand. Knights on horses and all the mystic crew, they're throwing moon pies and golden balloons down at the Mardi Gras, Mobile, Alabama, Mardi Gras, New Orleans, Louisiana, Mardi Gras, we'll all have a ball downtown at the Mardi Gras. To Mardi Gras, Mobile, Alabama, Mardi Gras, New Orleans, Louisiana, Mardi Gras, we'll all have a ball downtown at the Mardi Gras. Thank you so much. I moved to Nashville from the Gulf Coast 33 years ago. And I went there to become a songwriter, which I'm happy to say I have done, and it's been a wonderful experience. But every now and then when you need to give yourself a little talking to, you kind of come up with a song, and I was doing that. And this song is called Speak to Someone's Heart, and I hope that you will see that it is not only about songwriting, but whatever you do, you should do it because you enjoy it, and it gives you some fulfillment, and it makes you feel worth something to other people. This song is called Speak to Someone's Heart. This is no business for the timid or the slightly weak at heart. If you can't take rejection, save your spirit and don't start. But if you've got it burning in you like a fire that won't go out, and you're bound to do it anyway, come hell or yourself down, then brother, pick up that guitar and write a song for you, and know that yours might be the only soul that gets it too. Put your pen to paper, put your pick to guitar string. Write yourself a song you'd like the whole wide world to sing. And if it's heard by only one or maybe millions more, if you speak to someone's heart, that's what you're really writing for. If you choose the music business, it's a business, nothing less. And it will make you redefine your notion of success. You'll learn the way to spend your precious time and money too. Cutting through frustration, keep enjoying what you do. You've got to think it's worth it when you're searching for those lines. That touching someone's heart will be the best reward you'll find. Put your pen to paper, put your pick to guitar string. Write yourself a song you'd like the whole wide world to sing. And if it's heard by only one or maybe millions more, if you speak to someone's heart, that's what you're really writing for. If you had the passion and you had something to say, and soul that just won't stop, you live to write another day. Put your pen to paper, put your pick to guitar string. Write yourself a song you'd like the whole wide world to sing. And if it's heard by only one or maybe millions more, if you speak to someone's heart, that's what you're really writing for. If you speak to someone's heart, that's what you're really writing for. Thank you. Thank you very much. like to go down to the Gulf Coast where I come from right now. And when I was a kid off the coast of my hometown, Pascagoula, there was an old lighthouse on a little island called Round Island. And by the time I discovered it, it had long been out of service. But I had a little, what I call my 12-foot yacht, and we'd sail out there on my little boat and kind of play around in it. The insides had been burned out by many bonfires by that point, but it instilled in me a love of lighthouses, and I've now been to them many other places. And I would suggest if you have a bent for history and things that are still with us like they used to be, go see a lighthouse. This song is sort of a tribute to all of them. It's called Old Lighthouse. I'm just an old lighthouse, no glamour on me. I'm not the one tourists all clamor to see. I just do my job like an old clock and chime. I'm just an old lighthouse, determined to shine. They built me in '03 and painted me white. A first order Fresnel lens sends out my light to ships that keep dodging that shallow shoreline. I'm just an old lighthouse, determined to shine. Fishing boats, freighters, and battleships too, I've beamed them all by till they got safely through the sandbars and reefs that were waiting below, their water lines ready to scuttle them low. Hurricane Betsy blew in '65. Camille and Katrina about ate me alive. The further you get from the last storm, they say, the sooner the next one is heading your way. There once was a keeper who lived in the shack. There once was a home near my base around back. He lost his job to electrified light, but I'm still on duty by day and by night. I'm just an old lighthouse still sending my light to captains and crews who still sail by at night. They've charted their courses and I'll follow mine. I'm just an old lighthouse, determined to shine. I'm just an old lighthouse, determined to shine. Thank you. The first song I sang, Hillbilly Blues, Caribbean Rock and Roll, is one that I wrote because when I moved to Nashville, people used to ask me what it is that I played, and I couldn't really sum it up in one word. Growing up on the coast, I heard a lot of rhythm and blues and New Orleans jazz out of New Orleans radio stations. In South Alabama, South Mississippi, I heard bluegrass and country music. My family, my mother loved big band music, so I heard a lot of that. She insisted that I watch Leonard Bernstein's Saturday afternoon classical music program that came on every week, and then my grandfather would come in the room when she wasn't looking and switch it over to Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. And so there's a lot of it, and our family had that Harry Belafonte record that everybody's family had. So I call it Hillbilly Blues, Caribbean Rock and Roll. And growing up down there, if you live in anywhere on the Gulf Coast, going from one place to the other, like from Pascagoula to Mobile or Biloxi or New Orleans, is like driving from here to Cookeville or Monterey. You just get used to doing that along the old Highway 90 down there. And one of my favorite places is over on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay. It's a little town called Magnolia Springs. It's the last place in the country where the mail's still delivered by water, and the people down there have a very good time. And I loved it every year when they had the St. John Catholic Church lawn party. It was a great equalizer. It brought all these elements of society together, from politicians to shrimpers. And this is called Magnolia Springs. 1, 2, 3, 4. from the Gulf. You'll find the spot where all the boats are moored, where a houseboat is a houseboat, not a floating Winnebago. And it's home to all those folks who live on board. They can sail anything that floats. The U.S. mail still comes by boat. All the natives dance and sing at Magnolia Springs. A stone throw from the river, surrounded by the trees, and underneath a 20-foot rope swing. Those icy cold spring waters will cleanse the hearts and souls of all God's children at Magnolia Springs. They can sail anything that floats. The U.S. mail still comes by boat. All the natives dance and sing at Magnolia Springs. They're hard-working people in a brackish water town, fishing for the food that makes their meals. And they're at St. John's Parish when that festival rolls around. Those fishermen can sure pick up their heels. They can sail anything that floats. The U.S. mail still comes by boat. All the natives dance and sing at Magnolia Springs. They can sail anything that floats. The U.S. mail still comes by boat. All the natives dance and sing at Magnolia Springs. Hey, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm having a blast. This is a wonderful venue. How about a hand for the GrinderHouse Coffee, because they do this every week. Matter of fact, I'm drinking some GrinderHouse coffee as I sing here today. It's very good. There are times as a songwriter when you all of a sudden sort of become something you're observing, and it ends up in a song. And I wrote this about a year ago. In fact, it was February of last year. And you may have seen this scene too, either here or somewhere else. The name of the song is Bundle of Blankets. A bundle of blankets piled up on a bench, hung down to the sidewalk below. There at the pavement, two worn-out old shoes told the world someone was cold. The sun had come out, and I'd found myself thinking the weather had warmed up a bit. But under those blankets, somebody shivered, just thankful for some place to sit. That bundle of blankets moved hardly an inch as I stood nearby on the curb. The cold soul below somehow let me know the message was do not disturb. Those shoes might have wandered all night, keeping someone from freezing to death in their sleep. And maybe the Lord heard a prayer about daybreak from one more soul he chose to keep. I thought of how many things I could do to help a cold soul on the street. But would I be helping myself to feel righteous or doing what somebody needs? should do. All of a sudden, a blanket fell down and two eyes squinted so they could see. A gravelly voice said, "Don't worry, son, the Lord heard you praying for me." A bundle of blankets piled up on a bench hung down to the sidewalk below. Oh, thank you. All right. Glad you like that. I have not recorded that yet or anything, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's just a song that moves me, and I'm glad that you appreciated it too. I'd like to talk a little bit about the big Caribbean influence of my music, and I have been to the Caribbean numerous times. The first time I ever went was years ago. I went to the Bahamas, which is really sort of in between the Atlantic and the Caribbean. It's kind of on the cusp. But since then, I've been to Aruba, the Dominican Republic, other places. But in every Caribbean town, there's always this street where people come to barter. And you know, you've seen them. They spread out all these things on the tables, like Hawaiian shirts and maracas and straw hats, all these things that you'll never wear or use once you get them back to the States. But the fun of it is the haggling that goes on with it. And the rule of thumb is never take the first price. There's always wiggle room, and I was really impressed with a couple of the vendors down there, if you will, and sort of their sales pitch. So I wrote this song called "Hustling on Bay Street." A small boy spots me in the crowd of tourists shuffling slow and loud. "Sir, I see you're smarter than most of these Americans. Hey, mister, where you from? You want to buy some coconut or rum? I know a girl who drinks it too, and I can fix her up with you. Hustling on Bay Street, anytime, night or day street. It's yours if you can pay street. Hustling on Bay Street. Locals barter in the street, things you never thought you'd need. Grass skirts, maracas, hats of straw, some things just outside the law. Hustling on Bay Street, anytime, night or day street. It's yours if you can pay street. Hustling on Bay Street. I'm here to get away from my old day to day, but some things are just the same. The currency is all that's changed. Back home it's hustling on Wall Street. Trust your brokers, call Street. You could lose it all, Street. Hustling on Wall Street. I think I'll take hustling on Bay Street. Anytime, night or day street. It's yours if you can pay street. Hustling on Bay Street. Hustling on Bay Street, yeah. Hustling on Bay Street. Gracias, turistas.